Yes, I went to Louisville and it's like I fell off the face of the earth. Well, there's a reason for that, and we'll talk about it. So, grab a snack, grab a soda, grab a chair, let's chat. Yes, fellow billers, I'm back from Louisville. This is the Mediocre Modeler, and it was fun. It was very, very fun. And I had every intention to film every single moment of the trip. And obviously, that didn't happen. But let's go through the days. Start off on Friday. And typically, what we do, I get the car packed up, go grab the guys, stop, get her some coffee, muffin or whatever, hit the road. And that happened, but the other part of what normally happens as well. Because we don't hang out that much. We chit-chat through social media, but we don't get to actually hang out as a group, or typically, But since it was just me and Dan, or Dan and I didn't get to, he and I just don't get to talk that often. So, that's what happened. We start talking about our families, blah, 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 and have you seen The Mandalorian? Oh, that's great. What else are you watching? What are you building? Da, 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 da. All this stuff's going on, and before you knew it, it's been like 3 hours, And we stopped for gas, and I realized, I haven't even, I'm not doing what I said I was going to do. So that's when we made the first video. We stopped for snacks, got gas. And from there, it seemed to go pretty consistently. And I really enjoy the trip up. Used to feel like it took forever, and it just doesn't because of the conversations that you have, despite how weird they get. I mean, one of the questions, I don't know how we even got on the subject, but the question was, what's the biggest secret that you would keep for the government for $1 million? And Dan was just like, well, give me a for instance. And so the for instance was, okay, you are aware, you are a friend with an alien, and the government can't off you, because if they do, then the aliens will not share their technology and they may actually get angry. So you have to keep quiet about it. And in typical Dan fashion, he knows about the aliens, da da da. Do I get to visit the alien? Yes, Dan. Yes, you get to visit the alien. Yeah, I do that. So, okay, but drive, we get there. And so the plan at that point was to get there early. We usually try and get to the counter, buy our tickets, and then you see the people loading in, and usually, years ago we were vendors, so we know a lot of those guys, so there's like, hey buddy, that sort of thing. And we were just too late. We missed the thing that evening, so we still had to get checked in and the car unloaded, and I had to get my stuff hung up, and so, because it can't be a wrinkly Mando. And then, some of the guys, we got done setting up our table, and we haven't eaten either, we're going to go over by the pool and eat some pizza, why don't you come on down? And so that happened, and then the whole process starts over. How you been? Da 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 da. What are you watching? Hey, did you bring anything for the contest? What are you working on? And eventually, you end up having to go to bed because tomorrow's the big dance. It's our Super Bowl. But we still didn't have tickets. So the plan was, going to get up. Dan was going to go and get the tickets because he wanted to go to Early Bird, and I was going to go get the coffee. So for the uninitiated, who if you've never been to a convention that, okay, so most people are probably aware of the Comic Con. So at the Comic Con, I guess they have early bird there too, but the you've got the vendors who are selling their products, and then you have celebrities that show up, and so to get a hold of to get first pick at whatever's in there, you can pay extra, which is the early bird. I never do the early bird. Dan always does the early bird. As a matter of fact, by the time I got back from getting coffee and got up to the room, there were 2 bags sitting on his bed already. So it worked out for him. I just never find anything that I gotta have that bad. For me, the hunt is part of the process. I mean, it just is. But hey, to each his own. But we get back. The show opens at 10. I still need to get a hold of Jeff to find out when we're going to meet. And when I finally did get a hold of him, he still had models that he was putting in the contest. So I had earlier done pictures of him with his Ghostbusters, and so he had made the Slimer pack that he put in, scratch built that, and he did a Proton pack that he put in, and did very well on both of them, as a matter of fact, in the contest. So and that's kind of a process, because you've got all these people trying to get registered, and you got to pay your money and blah, and then you got to get in, you got to get your thing all set up, just so it's, and hope no one messes with it. And they're pretty good about making sure people don't touch it. But we finally decide, okay, we're ready to go. I'll be ready in 15 minutes. Get up to the room, get all my stuff on. So I go to the elevator. I'm on the 6th floor. Jeff's on the 3rd floor. And, walk down the hall, get on the elevator, doors closed. Goes down a couple of floors and stops. And then the doors open. There's a couple standing outside the elevator. And they look up and see me, and they vapor lock. So I just kind of step back and kind of to the side, and they get on the elevator, and they're like, looking everywhere but at me. And it gets to my floor, and before the doors open, I turn to them and like, this is probably the last thing you expect to see today now, isn't it? Yeah. Doors open, I step off. It was just funny. So I get down to go and help Jeff, and he's only halfway ready. I think his Mando is just amazing. He did a mashup between the Mandalorian and like World War One, or World War One. Has to be World War. But all the stuff, all his accoutrements are authentic. So he's got like old military ammo pouches, and his holster is a old ammo holster, leather holster. The benefit being, a lot of it's already pre-worn. It's just, it looks old and like it's seen some days. And then you put his work on top of it, and it looked just amazing. But there are a lot of pieces to go, so I'm helping him put stuff on, get the collar on. So we go on down to get on the elevator, go down to the showroom floor. And I really wish I had somebody to kind of video us coming off the elevator, because that way I could do that slow-mo walk, put some really cool music. But as it was still a great moment, because you see all this murmur going, everyone's going about their business, doing everything, and here we come around the corner, and people are just like, oh, phones are whipping out, and people are taking, we had to put our buckets on, but just like, hey, can I take a picture? And I'm not gonna lie, after all the work and blood, sweat, and tears, there was blood. There was actually blood because of the sewing deal. You go through all that work, and to get those kind of praise from people is great. Because I can guarantee you, even someone who is like an Adam Savage who does this, I guarantee you, in the back of his head, I think he's an amazing maker. And I'm sure in the back of his head, before he walks out of that hotel or there's a little part of him is like, what if they laugh at me? What if this isn't well received, And that's great. But it gets better. So, we walk around a little bit and, have people take our pictures and we're just getting the thumbs up and everything. And one of the show organizers comes up and says, hey, the news is going to be here at about 2:30. Would you be available to be with the 501st so we could take some pictures and you guys can get on the news? And so internally, we're like, externally, we're like, yeah, we'll be over there. So, 2:30 comes around and we're killing time. We're getting a little bit tired. But this is something I've never experienced because the 501st guys, they're really, at least these guys, were pretty organized, So the photographer, what he wanted was he wanted to set up like in the main lobby and have, hey, on 5 o'clock news, the Wonderfest is in town, and just have all the regular con people and then have a couple of stormtroopers walk through. And so they did that shot. And then he had us stand in an arch and then he just did, pans up and down of every person. Just don't look into the camera, which you're wearing a shielded visor. If I was looking into the camera, you probably wouldn't know anyway. But I guess if you just, just anyway. And then we did the walk, which was really interesting. So he was set up in the show floor, and the rule at that time was you had to wear your mask under your helmet. So you had your mask. I had on my mask, my glasses, my helmet. When you have all that stuff on, and then you start walking, all you can hear is your own breath, a murmur around you, and I couldn't see anything. Everything was all fogged up. And so they wanted us like every 6 feet apart. So there's just like, so one of the guys was like, go, and so we just alternately went down, and all you could do was follow the guy in front of you, and you gotta have a lot of faith that the guy in front of you doesn't trip or fall or anything. Now, granted, with the spacing, it probably would have been okay, but even still, we did the circuit in there, and then got done with that. By this time, it's 3:30 or so. We haven't eaten. So we go to eat. Get back a little after 5. Well, the con closes at 5, and this is kind of where the decision was made, because in and amongst the day, we've been going to this convention for 20 years, and we know a lot of people, so there's a lot of, hey, so you're looking for people that you know. And for us, one of our buddies who used to run a table there died about 3 weeks ago. So, and when I went by where his table was, I got a little choked up, because, these are people that you spend a weekend with once a year, but we've been doing this for 20 years, so, and another one of my buddies who actually used to organize the 501st in that area, the last time I saw him, he had been diagnosed with cancer, and I hadn't seen him. And so when I went over to where looking for the 501st, I'm looking for him, and I didn't see him, and I kind of maybe thought maybe he, just because he was sick, he wouldn't show up. and his daughter showed up. And so I'm like, well, how's Dad? And unfortunately it passed, you know. And, you know, I mean, and we knew this was going to be the case. I mean, you didn't see people there, so you didn't know, could they just not come? You know, were they compromised, you know, immunely, or had they passed? So, I mean, we knew the possibilities there that some of the people were going to, and the group is there. I've watched children grow up at this convention, so it's, anyway, so at this point, the con is half over, and I haven't been through the model room. I've been through the sale floor, but only in gear, so even if I wanted to buy something, I couldn't carry it. And I hadn't been to any of the talks that I had already missed one talk. And so that's kind of where I made the decision that I need to experience the con. One of my buddies, Scott, my buddy Scott, he had made the comment one time, and it stuck with me, how he said, you know, these people, you see all these pictures of these people who go out to these amazing places and they take selfies, and instead of experiencing the amazing thing through their own eyes, they're experiencing it through the lens of a camera, you know. And so, like I said, that's, hopefully you can see that's why the thing, kind of the videos kind of stopped. I really wanted to experience, and then we could talk about it. So that leads us into Sunday, and we get to the model contest. And I tell you what, not only did these people have 2 years to create new products to sell, they had 2 years to hone their skills. If nothing, this contest is humbling, because some of these kits were just amazing. Just, let's take a moment and check out some of the kits. Did I tell you or did I tell you? Just amazing work. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. There's some that just really, really stood out to me that were outstanding. One, there's one kind of like what I'm doing with my secret base. This is it's a take on the attack on the Death Star. So you've got an X-wing being chased by a Y-wing. That thing, and it's the large scale X-wing. So it's fantastic. You also have so you really have to look close on some of these. So there's a Cylon Raider, and it's done really well. The weathering's done really well, but it doesn't have the cockpit. And so when you look inside the cockpit, you see it's being piloted by 3 toasters. Hence, their nickname is Toaster. So there are a lot of in-jokes in there. You've got the TIE fighter from The Mandalorian where it lands and the wings fold. That's fantastic. You've got also on the Battlestar Galactica realm. There's 2. There's one that's in the launch tube, and it's got the light all behind glass. It's beautiful. There's 2. So there's that one, and then there's also another one where you get it's probably about the size of, it's probably the old NPC model, but it's got a pilot in it, and in Battlestar Galactica the helmet has lights around it that's lit up, but it's on a pretty big base, and when you hit the buttons on the base, it shoots out a burst of vapor out the back like the thrust would go, and it makes sounds, and I have no words. It just, people had a lot of time on their hands and they put it to good use. You know what? There are so many that are so good. Let's go another round with the models. Another one of my favorites. It probably is. I almost want to say it's my favorite of the whole thing. Okay. It's the Ahsoka and Mandalorian fighting, and her lightsabers are lit up. Thing about it is it was on the back corner of this table, and I couldn't get a good picture of it. I had to go in at a funky angle to try and get the shot that I got. But just the work that went in. I mean, the backdrop. It's got an arched backdrop, and it's all, colored, and it's got the what has it got on it? It's got the landscape on it, and then you've got all the foliage in front. It's got the tree in front, the little owl up in the tree. This stuff is just amazing. Now, the way the contest works is each model is judged against itself. So it's not as if, I'm going to put one of mine up against this studio show quality model. But you are, the rules that you're following, and you can look up the rules, and it's looking for basic modeling technique. No paint runs, no seam lines, no blemishes, just going the extra mile. And so on top of that, I was talking to some of the guys who had been, I say guys and ladies who had judged models before on this level. And not only are you looking, just basic modeling skills where everything starts, but then if you're going to have a diorama, and what they said is like, so take for instance, there's a diorama of a bunch of soldiers, and there's a tank. Well, the soldiers look good, and the tank looks good, and the foliage looks good, but if they're not doing something, if there's no sense of them doing something, when the one guy said, what are they, projecting a movie on the side of the tank? I mean, have them doing something. And they all referred back to the Shepard Payne's book on how to do a diorama. And I'm like, well, what's this? And so I'm going to have to look it up. It's out there to find. But just simple things like, if you have a model in an environment, if there's a tank in a muddy environment, the tank should be sunk into the mud. Okay? So your model should not be on the environment. Your model should be in the environment. If it's a giant monster or whatever walking down the street, well, the street should show stress cracks from the weight of this giant monster walking down. Don't just have your guy standing there static. Have him doing something. And if you look at some of the models that I took a picture of, there's a little yellow piece of paper, and it shows, so you could either get a merit, a bronze, a silver, a gold, or you get nothing. And you can see what they got. And so when I was looking at some of the pictures, I was looking at, okay, what made this a bronze and not a silver? What made this a silver and not a gold? At the end of the day, it's kind of picking up on those things and learning those things. If you want to continue in model building to go to contests, those are the kinds of things that you need to pay attention to and learn. And that's why I go, to figure out those kinds of things to become a better model builder. For me, it's just a matter. It ends up being a matter of time. Life goes on, and I just don't have the time to spend doing that to get to that level. So, at the end of the day, every person, you have to decide for yourself where you want to be. at what point are you going to be okay with your skill? But don't stop at just your skill. I was talking to someone today, and we were talking about, you know, Wonderfest and the Mandalorian, my Mandalorian build, and it's comforting on one end to go, wow, I made it, it's done. But at the same time, you're going, okay, I have an entire year to figure out what I'm going to do next year to do better than this. I have no idea what that is right now, and to a certain degree, it kind of scares me. But for the most part, we're just at this point kind of absorbing everything that we saw and everything we learned, trying to figure it all out to make it better. Well, fellow builders, I think we're going to stop right here for the moment. I looked up and it's been 30 minutes, and I have so much more to talk about from Wonderfest, and I don't know whether it's going to take 15 minutes or 50. No, it's not going to take 50. But yeah, 30 minutes of mediocre modelers, that's a bit much. So, I really haven't gotten back. I haven't touched a model since I've been back. It was get back home and start right back on the hamster wheel, getting to work and everything else. So, but I really I need to get this out so that I can get back to the Alphabet Squad secret base. But like I said, there's still more to talk about. I got to meet some of my YouTube followers, and some of the stuff that I actually saw there, stuff I brought home. Well, ordered when I got home, and then we can close the door on Wonderfest 2021 and move forward. But in the meantime, just because I've stopped building doesn't mean you have to stop building. You got to get out there. I've been inspired. That's what Wonderfest does for me. It gives me that second one to go build something. So you get out there, you go build something. Share your pictures with me on YouTube or Instagram, and don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button so you can hear the rest of the Wonderfest story. But until then, have fun, be safe, go build something. Pew 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 pew.